let him make an opening statement, and then we'll get your questions.
Good morning. Happy Christmas week. It's a very, very busy week for us. Obviously, being out east twice and then the day after Christmas. But that's COVID 2020. No excuses, just kind of pushing forward and like we told our guys, it's about recovery. It's about proper amount of rest. That's one of the things that we're finding as we go through this. We test every morning. We tested it at 5:30 in the morning before the Rutgers game, which is 4:30 our time. So we're up and at 'em. But we're going to take on an extremely good, talented, and veteran Penn State team. Looking back at the Rutgers game, we knew they were very, very good. That's a team that's, I told our team yesterday, the three teams we've played are 17-0 and all in the top 12 or whatever they are, 15 in the country on the road and away from our place. And we got to continue to grow. I've been disappointed with our lack of consistency on the defensive end. I think that's very obvious. When you shoot 54%, 60% from the three, you should win. I don't care where you play, who you play, you should win. And that speaks volumes to what we've been doing on that end of the court. But to go out against Minnesota and just be as impressive and as committed and as dedicated and as dialed in as we were against them, and to not have that same urgency for 40 minutes, I think that's one of the lulls we fall into with our offensive play, is that we know we can score. And, so we haven't taken that growth step that I've been looking for. So we talked a lot about that. One of the biggest reasons that we lost the Rutgers game didn't have anything to do with Harper. I know you guys will be disappointed in hearing that. He scored some points. Mulcahy absolutely destroyed us. He made every Andres Feliz play that there was. And we showed our guys about an hour of clips of him kicking our butt. He drew 6 fouls. He was getting his hands on balls, making passes, diving on the floor, and they deserve to win that game. So especially because of his play. Really good players are going to score. We knew Harper was going to score some points, but Mulcahy was absolutely the difference in the game. So we've talked about those things. I'm demanding much, much more from our veterans. They've got to be better on the defensive end, and they've got to help shore things up on that end. We know we can do it. We were the best defensive team in the country. We're 218th right now in foul rate. We were 13th last year at this time. Or 20th, excuse me. We ended up 13th. But another great challenge against a very, very good Penn State team. And they play 4 guards. They shoot the cover off of it. They press. And we'll have to play exceptionally well to win.
Hey, Brad, what do you know about Jim Ferry personally and as a coach?
He's been a head coach at 2 different stops. He's won a lot of games. He's been there with Pat 3 or 4 years maybe. His teams have always been teams that have been very, very efficient on the offensive end, score a lot of points, and this team is no different.
I assume he hasn't had a whole lot of time to implement anything that Pat wasn't doing, but maybe there's some nuances. Have you seen anything in the advanced scouting?
Well, they're playing very fast. Again, Pat did that as well. They're shooting a ton of threes. They're playing much smaller than they have played in the past. And I say smaller, basically 4 guards playing similar to us. And then he's pressing. And that's something that they have not done a lot in past years.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, you guys have been very good off a loss the past 2 years. What do you think kind of flips you guys after losing a game?
I don't know. It really ticks me off for one. I'm usually not very happy about losing a game. But we've got to figure that out. And I'm trying not to I want our guys to understand losing's not an option. It's unacceptable. But it can't be lose and then we get all riled up again. And we've got to understand that we've got to switch jerseys. We're not the hunted anymore. We're the hunter. We're being the one hunted. We're everybody's 4th of July. We're everybody's New Year's Day celebration. People are getting excited to play us, and you have guys who put their name in the draft, and people are going after those guys, and they're fired up, and we've got to expect that every night. We've got to grow into that, and I thought we got off to a great start at Rutgers. I don't think that was as big an issue as the fact they're really good, and we just had a lapse about the 12-minute mark that we've had in our 3 losses that has really hurt us on the boards, and then we've made a mistake or two, and whether it was the intentional foul or some of the other things, but we've got to grow from those.
And then after a hard fought game at Rutgers, I know it's only been 1 practice, but what was the energy like in practice yesterday?
Fantastic, as you would expect it to be when you've got veterans with a lot of pride. We got unbelievable guys. I mean, I wouldn't trade our team for anybody in the country. We've got unbelievable guys that care and have tremendous pride.
Thanks, Brad.
Coach, I know you're probably taking this one game at a time with how difficult this Big Ten is, but what would a long extended winning streak do for your locker room right now?
I have no idea. I don't even know how to answer that. I don't even think that way. We want to win them all, Alec. I mean, I never think about that. I don't. I go to, I've got practice in 30 minutes, and I'm trying to get us better that day. And I don't even know who we got. Indiana on Saturday, right? And I couldn't tell you who we have after that. I have no earthly idea. I don't know how to answer that.
Coach, you knew you were going to miss Andres Feliz this year. You mentioned okay making some of those plays. Is there anyone on your roster that you're identifying being that guy, or is it kind of a collective effort?
Not yet. Truth be told, not yet. I mean, there's something about a guy that and you guys don't know Andres Feliz. You guys don't know him. You think you know him, but you don't know Andres Feliz. You don't know the person, the human being, the caring, the giving, the thoughtless thought. I mean, he is the most selfless human being that maybe I've ever been around as a young man. And he was about winning, and it burned. It hurt him. And there's a reason he won high school championships. There's a reason he won a junior college championship. There's a reason he led us back to an NCAA tournament appearance, what would have been playing for a championship the last week. We can show his highlight from Iowa ripping the ball out of Garza's hands, or we can show him diving on the floor against Indiana. We can show him diving on the floor, taking charges. All those plays are winning plays, and they don't show up in a stat sheet. The most overrated thing in the world is a stat sheet, in my opinion. The only stat that matters is the wins and losses, and that's all Andres Feliz cared about.
As you went back and watched the Rutgers film, is there anything that's standing out with the fouls on the perimeter? I know Curbelo and Miller in particular, they've had 4 in the last 3 games. Anything that you're noticing as a trend? Well,
Curbelo fouled out. Again, it's hands. It's using hands. It's a huge adjustment playing. And usually what happens when you're foul is you're thinking and you're a little bit passive. But Derek, I can't just throw it all on them. Curbelo picked up 2 or 3. One was a complete flop. It was a horrible, brutal call. We got guys in our league flopping, and my guy Kofi is just getting annihilated, and we're not getting that same call. We're not getting the same whistle. I just need to teach flopping, I guess, and acting. But he's trying to block out, and he's reaching and grabbing. He's got to quit that. We've been through that with film. And usually it's an adjustment. You're playing against bigger, stronger guys, so you're trying to do everything you can to figure out how to be successful.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Brad, I'm curious maybe when did you first discuss the, say, maybe idiosyncrasies of what this year's schedule might be, especially, a Christmas week where you guys are going to be playing 2 games instead of the team being, maybe with their families?
Well, we told our guys in June that they would not be going home for Christmas, that they would not be going home till the end of the season. We've told them to, and I'll be very honest, we've played this worst case scenario all year long. We talk about COVID every single day. And, when the situation arose where there were no fans and then there was no families at games, we dealt with it. When the schedule came out and was so late, we all voted as Big Ten coaches. We have what are called CARA days, where we've had mandatory 3 days off. We all voted in the safety and health of our student athletes to not go home, because then we had to test back in and quarantine again. And then in managing a schedule throughout the course of the year, now you lose another 10 days of not being able to play games if you do that. So we just decided to play. And, unfortunately, the NCAA didn't change the rule. We have to take those 3 CARA days, and we'll do that after the Indiana game. But, an opportunity, and our student athletes all voted for it. Our players are excited to play on Christmas or Christmas the day after. So, it beats setting in, because when there's CARA days, we can't do anything with them. We can't even be around them. And so, it'd almost be like being in quarantine. They're sitting in their apartments with nothing to do and they can't be around us. And so it was just the best situation we could. We've talked about it at numerous times. We're going to have a little Christmas celebration on Christmas Day with our guys, and there'll be some presents to open and some different things. And it won't be a traditional Christmas, but I hope it becomes a very memorable Christmas. And that's something that not just for COVID. I want it to be memorable because it was a bonding of the basketball family together.
And we talked with Monte a few days ago. He mentioned that he and the rest of the team, they were all in on this. Was that the response that you expected from this group? Maybe when the whole thing was first broached?
Yeah, I don't think anybody came here with the exception to not play basketball. It's what they do. It's what they love to do, and their love and passion for the game is and to play games. That's why they work so hard. And it was unanimous. I mean, there wasn't any hesitation, man. We want to play, and the NBA has played on Christmas Day for years, and that's one of the biggest, most celebrated days of basketball out there. And now we get our opportunity. And so, our guys that all want to be pros. They look up to those guys, and now we get to go do the same thing.
Thank you.
Brad, I
Hey,
recall go ahead, Ked.
I'm sorry. Hey, Coach, it kind of looks like early on that Adam Miller's kind of pressing a little bit. Obviously, he's good enough, to be in the rotation because you started him. But what is it going to take to kind of get him to slow down a little bit to adjust to the college game, I guess, or Big Ten play?
Experience. Ked, you guys know it's a completely different game. Accountability on the defensive end, the speed, the size, the mental piece is completely different. You don't just go out and hoop. You've got to execute, and man, Adam's been awesome. And it's just he's so far ahead of where most freshmen are. I mean, I'm putting him in the starting lineup. And I mean, Curbello's in the same boat. I mean, those guys are both way, way ahead. You start looking around the country, who's playing freshmen at the highest levels? Not many. And if they are, they're usually a center. He's been great. And it's just not about overloading him. It's about trying to keep it very simple. We're trying not to pile too much on offensively. Let him get his feet set. He gets better every single day defensively. He's a guy with a million questions, and I don't think anybody can be disappointed. Man, that young man's playing his butt off, and he's been great. And he may not live up to your guy, what you guys think, because he's got a bunch of stars by his name coming in, but he is tremendous, and I couldn't be happier with the way he's played and what he's learned. Do I want better for him, and am I demanding more? Absolutely, but we'll get that from him.
Okay, just last question. You talked about the foul treatment with Kofi and how it's different. When you send those things into the Big Ten, and if you're able to share with us, what kind of response do you get back? Because during the game, you can see he's frustrated.
You know, my problem is I'm not as concerned as to what that response is, as I want them to understand how dejected our players get when that's not. I mean, Kofi can't help the fact he's 297 pounds and he's strong, and that he doesn't. And when he gets smacked on the arm, like on the jump ball call, and he gets smacked on the arm and he doesn't lose the ball, he can't help the fact that he's strong. I mean, he could bench press the building, and a 200-pound guy loses that ball, and the ball goes everywhere, and it's an obvious foul. And that's frustrating because he is so dejected. And, you know, I think that there's some, we just had a situation in the Minnesota game with Georgie where an official absolutely came in and apologized because maybe his reputation in the past had gotten him a call, and Georgie's completely changed. And it's so, these guys get so disappointed, so dejected when they do everything right. And I mean, I had a long conversation with Kofi yesterday, you know, about it and how to handle it and how not to get, stay emotionless, you know, and he's just frustrated. I mean, every single time he's getting hit, it's crazy.
Brad, last year, I recall it was a bit of a story that it took a while before a Big Ten team won on the road, but obviously different environments this year. Does it still feel like it's tough to get one on the road?
Playing on the road's hard anywhere. I don't care if fans, no fans. I mean, our team's 17-0 that we played against. They're good. They're good. I mean, you know, Minnesota just beat a great St. Louis team. We had Minnesota down 40 at home. Teams play better at home. There's a comfort level. And I don't compare a year. I don't like comparing years. Every year is different. Every team's different. But yeah, it's still a real challenge on the road. You're in a hotel, you travel different. Now we've got the COVID factors and the testing's different, and all that's it's a completely different dynamic. So it's much tougher at home or on the road, excuse me.
Thanks. That's all I had.
Probably not, Brad, my best transition for comparing years, but you guys are right on par about where you were in KenPom defensive efficiency as you were last year. Is your frustration built because you maybe expected more with some of these guys being in the system for another year, and maybe are some of those numbers skewed from those first two games?
I don't. That's the one thing about KenPom. I don't think they're going to skew much based on who your opponent, because everything's adjusted. My expectation is really high. And I've looked at all the numbers and the comparisons, and yeah, there are similarities, which you know, maybe our opponents have something to do with it. I mean, playing Baylor, I mean, Baylor's really, really, really good, and yet I know what our weaknesses are. I know what we have to get better at, and that's the thing that you can't make those mistakes continually in a conference season, and we don't have the non-league season, and that's where, you know, I want us to be better. So I'm a glass half empty guy most of the time when it comes to basketball, and I want us to be better, and my expectation is very high, Joey.
Do you think, I mean, you mentioned that, there's a confidence in you guys with the ability to score the basketball. Have you noticed a real carryover effect where maybe a play on defense gets taken off because there's confidence to hit a three or get to the rim? I mean, is that a real thing you're seeing?
I haven't noticed it. I noticed our veterans making mistakes on the defensive end, and that's Io, that's Trent. That's Kofi. It's a loose ball play that we don't get on the floor. It's a one possession game. It's a one possession game, and it's a transition play. It's a live ball turnover. It's all those things that add up, and understanding that games are decided by two possessions, about 75% of them in this league. That's the urgency and the understanding that we're trying to get all these guys to understand, and our veterans have been far from perfect. And we had those conversations again yesterday with them.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, kind of on a different topic, but we've talked to the guys about some of the things they do at the hotel and off the court just to stay connected and, things they're doing during this pandemic. So when you get to the hotel today or tomorrow, what kind of things are you doing before the game? And is that any different from what you would do last year?
No, yeah, it's quite a bit different. We don't go into any facility the night before. One of the challenges like we had before the Rutgers game, we're allowed to test 16 hours before tip. And so one of the real challenges is then we have a third party that administers all these tests. So what is their availability? So our availability would have been about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. Would have been the earliest we could have tested the night before. We chose to get up in the morning and test early. Okay. And the challenge with that is if there is a negative, or a false positive or a positive test that comes back, you don't have the time to get a PCR done. And by rule, if there's a false positive, that individual sits, he's done. So there's a little bit of a process that goes on. We'll test here today. We've already tested. We are not going into their facility at all the night before. We will get to the hotel. We've backed up our departure dates very late. So we're leaving 4:30, 5 o'clock today, I believe. We get to the hotel. We get checked in our rooms. Our guys don't leave their rooms. They only go, and now we were fortunate at Rutgers, and I think we're fortunate here. There's nobody else in the hotel. Okay, there's no other occupants. So we go eat. We do our scout the night before, which we do with film, and then we try to get them into bed by 10 o'clock most nights, so that we know we have to get up in the morning and test. And so we'll have to get up in the morning and test. We're at their mercy when that third party can test us. And then we'll have our shoot around. And so the trips become a little shorter. There's a little less time in the visiting team's arena. A lot of times we would go in the night before and shoot. And we don't do that. We just try to stay as far away from people as we can. We're masked up everywhere we go. No interactions. The way our food is served is completely different than before. So it's really to be very honest, Brandon, it's a sterile trip. That's why we did not stay out on this trip. That's why we came home, because the state of Pennsylvania is closed, and then there was nothing in New Jersey. Everything is closed, boarded up, and there was nothing in the hotel. So we were better off being here than we were staying out.
And then you personally, you were going on a lot of walks.
This is the last question we have to get done here.
With the weather becoming colder, are you still going on your pregame walks outside?
Every day. I can put layers on as long as the wind's not blowing. I'm good. I can handle it, or there's a lot of moisture or rain, but yeah, I'm still getting anywhere from 4 to 6 in. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you.